and especially my friend Mr. Raja Sen, who has invited me to be here today. I want to share a few stories about understanding Goddess in a divine feminine form as Mother. And I think this is very, very special. So, in the Indian tradition, as we very well know, that when you're looking for power, let's say the power of wealth or the power of knowledge, you look to a goddess. And I'm sure you know the names of these goddesses. What is even more important is that in this particular mythology, when the gods were trying to kill a demon, and when they consolidated their power to kill a demon, they actually found a goddess. So it is very, very interesting that despite so many problems of patriarchy, the ancient and the early traditions of India have given Mother and the divine feminine form a status of great respect. So if you get into this subject philosophically, you know, the great saintly divine sage Sri Ramakrishna said, and it is also in our philosophy, that God in the male form is inert, and if you want to make the God to do any work, then you have to pray to her in the divine feminine form. So, you know, this respect or this homage, or what we call puja, is not something very ordinary. It is something very, very extraordinary. So if you want to become wealthy, if you want to become deeply spiritual and see the light, or if you want to become learned, or if you want all or many of these aspects, you better show respect to the divine form. Now, I will actually tell you a story of a particular divine form. Her name is Sri Sharada Devi. You may have heard her name. She was the divine consort of one of the greatest saints of modern India, Sri Ramakrishna. And through the story of her life, I want us to celebrate the beginning of the divine in the feminine form. So you may all know very well by now that Sri Ramakrishna, about whom I will say a few words, was a very unusual divine form, and his great disciple Swami Vivekananda actually introduced yoga to the West. So it was his historic address at Chicago in 1893, which really made yoga very popular in the West. And a couple of things that he said about the Indian traditions, I will not call it the Hindu tradition, is firstly the Catholicity of all religions. So in his first address in Chicago, he said, quoting the Gita, that like every river that flows into the ocean, each religion is like a river or a stream that is ultimately flowing into the same ocean. Then he went on to argue, he became a real celebrity in New York at that time, was offered professorships at Harvard and Columbia, which he declined, that every religion is true and that every religion has certain strengths and can learn from other religions. He also stressed that every religion has certain aspects that are common to all. But I don't want to belabor this point. I want to get back to the feminine divine form. And the reason why I am narrating these stories is that Sri Ramakrishna passed away in 1886. Swami Vivekananda set up the Ramakrishna Mutt and the Ramakrishna Mission in 1897. after spending a couple of years in Europe and the United States. And then he passed away in 1902. So this organization called the Ramakrishna Mission and its sister organization, which is run completely by women, which is called the Sharada Mutt, where no male monk has any power, was actually constructed unassumingly by the holy divine consort of Sri Ramakrishna, Sharada Devi. And before I end my presentation, I want to highlight a few points because the feminine divine form is actually understated. Very few people know the enormous work that this feminine divine form did to be where we are. Of course, Sri Ramakrishna practiced Islam and Christianity and at least 3 different Hindu traditions and said that you can see light in every one of them. He actually emphasized the need to see God in human beings. He did a lot of things that were actually quite revolutionary in the 19th century. But what was the role of this lady, the divine consort of Sri Ramakrishna? First and foremost, you must understand that in the 19th century, India and Bengal, and especially the Hindu religion, was rampant with conservative ideas. It was so conservative at that time that when Vivekananda came back from the West, after traveling to the United States, to Britain, to Switzerland, Germany, Italy, and many other countries, he was not allowed to enter the temple of the Holy Mother in Dakshineshwar. And who was the person standing behind him to support his radical approaches? It was the Holy Mother in divine form, Sri Sharada Devi. Even more scandalous, Vivekananda came back with women devotees, Western women devotees who supported his cause. You know, people like Sister Nivedita, Josephine MacLeod. And in those days it was horrendous to actually associate yourself with Western women. The route to accepting Western women for the causes of their uplift and the causes of India's uplift was laid by none other than Sharada Devi herself. In fact, in 1898, when one of the first schools for girls was set up by Sister Nivedita, she was present and encouraging parents to send their girl child to school. So, what is really very interesting over here is that she was working for the emancipation of women. She would treat her Muslim devotees and the lower caste devotees with the same empathy of a mother at a time when purity and pollution had destroyed the fabric of India. So she had a very famous Muslim devotee, his name was Amjad. There were lower caste people who used to come to her for grace, and there were people who were telling her that please don't associate yourself with these people because you know you are a pure holy person. And she said, no, I am mother to everybody and that purity cannot be restricted by religion or by caste. Most importantly, Swami Vivekananda was Sri Ramakrishna's foremost and very powerful disciple, the fountainhead of the Ramakrishna Mission. And there was only one person who could actually control him. And that was the Holy Mother, Sri Sharada Devi. When there was the bubonic plague in Calcutta, he was so moved by the suffering of the people that he said that I don't want to make a temple. I want to put all the money for the welfare of the poor. Sharada Devi intervened and she said that no, the temple will be made. It will symbolize certain virtues and it will remain for centuries. The work on the bubonic plague happened, resources were created and the temple was also constructed. So the point I'm trying to make here is that who was this person, Sharada Devi? She was certainly considered by her husband, Sri Ramakrishna, as mother in divine form. But if you read her biography, you will find that her relatives and many people who are close to Sri Ramakrishna ill-treated her. But she never expressed her anger towards any of those people. People who were close to her knew. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna used to say, don't make her angry, because if you make her angry, then even the gods will not be able to save you. But mother was grace, could never be made to feel angry. She was ever forgiving. She was infinitely loving. And she was not a very extroverted person. She was a very introverted person. If her grace flew into you, she would never take the credit for it. So there is this story of a bandit, who accosted her. And soon after she was accosted by this bandit, the bandit saw the divine in feminine form and became very kind. And then the bandit told this person, Sri Sharada Devi, that look, you are mother in divine form. She said, why? I am your daughter. I never see myself as mother in divine form. So there was so much of a detachment from any show of divinity or miracles or trying to help you out in a way that you should be grateful to her for. That grace flew just because of the large heart and the divine form of the Holy Mother. Last but not the least, she completely identified herself with her husband, the saintly Sri Ramakrishna. So when one of the disciples of the Holy Mother, who became a president of the Ramakrishna mission, once said that, I have seen you, but I haven't seen your husband. How I wish I had seen Sri Ramakrishna. And she replied by saying that if you have seen me, then you have seen him as well. There is no difference between him and me. So the question is that legends and rituals certainly are required. But these legends and rituals need to have some meaning in contemporary times, just like, Mr. Chrysler was suggesting. So who is the demon today? Who is the Mahishasur today? Are they the privileged who oppress the downtrodden? Are they the persons of one religion who hate another? Are they persons of one race who like to oppress another? It seems to me that neither Durga nor any divine form, especially in the feminine form, would ever support such projects. In fact, they would bless all those who believe in humanity rather than dividing it by creating conflicts. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.